Batman 3 Jokers issue 1. Geoff Johns writing with Jason Fabok on the art. Brad Anderson colorist as well. Which I'm noting just because Brad Anderson's very good, and he helps make this. Despite the fact that it's not Gary Frank, I was getting so many Doomsday Clock vibes from the art in this.
It's very Doomsday Clock down to the
9
what the
panels.
hell's the continuity.
Oh, yeah, that too.
You know what I mean? And then just the way that Fabok's very clean in the same way that Frank is. So like the inking and the coloring gave it that vibe, which, but Fabok's also just that good.
Oh, he's great. I mean, the 9-panel grid, the coloring, the ink, all that stuff made it feel very Doomsday Clock-esque, which is not a complaint, because Doomsday Clock's like one of the best comics of the last decade. So, here we are. Kara's been oddly silent, which means Kara's about to come in and kill everyone's buzz with...
Yeah, I posted on Twitter. I read this on Tuesday because I knew there were spoilers around, and I was like, I won't get until Saturday without seeing it.
I did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I posted on Tuesday. I didn't know how I felt about it, and I needed time to process the thoughts, and I don't think I like it. I don't think it's a very good comic. I think the art is fantastic. I think Fabok kills it, and Anderson's colors are phenomenal.
There's a lot of ideas being thrown around, and I think it's a really good first issue. However, if we don't start getting, if the story kind of just stays in the same kind of vibe that it's in, it could be problematic.
I think for me, there are story elements I just don't really like. But that's a complaint I can get past because that's my hang-ups. That's not their storytelling. However, I do think there are entire sequences in this that shouldn't be here. I think this has an ending about halfway to 2/3 through that should have been the end of the first issue.
I mean, I'll give you the Waynes being killed is something we could have cut out.
That was like 4 pages of trash. My whole thing is rendered trash, but trash.
Yes. And then maybe Fabok wanted to draw that, right? He wants that for his portfolio.
And I didn't need the 4 pages of this is how he got all these scars.
Well, let's work through. This is one of these big books that we're going to work through. Don't worry, I can bundle sections of it together pretty quickly though, because the opening, I do like the atmospheric stuff where there's no dialogue for a while. We just get shots of the cave, all that stuff. And it is Batman. Alfred's like patching up his scars, and we get kind of like multiple variations of different scars that he's got from various villains, ending with 3 different Joker attacks, which obviously 3 Jokers, right? Yeah, the whole point. I did groan when it went to the flashback when he's thinking about his parents and the night they were shot. It's one of these things where, and it's not even that long. Like, see, when you get to it, it's like 1.5 pages. That's all it is. It's not a lot, but I could have done without it.
Do you know what the problem is? It's spaced over 3 separate pages.
Yeah.
Even though it's just the bottom row on the first page and the top row of panels on the top row and 1 panel on the third page. For that second page, in the middle, because it's over 3 pages, it feels like so much. Coming after that sequence of all the scars as well, it felt like, okay, this is what, like 6-7 pages here of just stuff.
Yeah, it's about 16, 15 panels.
Yeah, I don't have a whole
total.
I don't have a big problem with the scar stuff, though, to be honest. I thought that was fine.
No, me neither. It's very cinematic.
Yeah,
I could tell what
I didn't need 3 full pages of it. It went on too long.
I got to the point where I saw the Waynes again, and I wanted to throw my iPad across the room.
I think you want this moment where, like, he's looking intently, and you want to show that he's thinking about the Waynes. I am okay with a single panel of the image, and then move on to your next point.
Or just the pearls, or the theater. Something like stylistic.
Just something to show that that's what he's thinking about. We don't have to actually see the beats play out because you know what, we've seen them 100 million times. We're good. And then it sets up the idea of these 3 crimes that happen. We go to Babs. She's exercising on a treadmill, and we hear about this comedian who's been killed. And it kind of gives us like names to like sort of refer to the Jokers as, and not even the narration. It's just like a chapter heading.
The criminal, the comedian, and the clown.
The clown.
Yeah. So the criminal is the one that we already heard about, which is this crime family's been taken down, and then we have this comedian that's been killed, which is the one that Babs has seen on the news. And again, some of the art with her I thought was good. It's one of those things when it starts flashing back to Killing Joke. Kind of like the Waynes, it's something we see a lot. I mean, at least
I wish it wasn't her only defining thing.
Oh, I agree with that.
We've gotten past so far with Barbara, and like if you wanted it to be like, if instead of focusing on the Killing Joke, we focused on her rehab, you know.
Also,
I think
is it possible to just break a treadmill like this?
Oh, I
mean, the point is, it's very, very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but they're like, she broke another one. I'm like,
yeah.
I think
how fast is she going on this treadmill?
I think the problem with the complaint that you don't want her to be fined by Killing Joke, I agree with that. The problem is, though, is that I don't think you can get away from it. Let's say that this was a problem in comics in general, or with Batgirl books in general. I don't think you can get away with it, or get away from it, I should say, in this book. Because it's about the three Jokers, because one of them's supposed to be tied to the one that shot her. I don't think you can get away from it.
No, I get it too, but I don't know. Putting 4 panels on it, I know it seems like a nitpick, but I don't know. I'm kind of past the point. Like, after the Heroes in Crisis stuff with it, and this is not that same level where it felt creepy.
That's fair. I guess what I would say is, I would just take out the flashback pal. See if it was just focused on the bullet wound. I think that would say enough without.
That's what I'm talking about. Like it's who she was, right? Like, why do we fall from Batman Begins? We can pick ourselves back up, right? For the fact that she's picked herself up.
That's the problem. We've seen her get over this.
Yeah.
Or work through it. Not get over it entirely is quite fair, but we've seen her get past this moment and not let it be her defining moment. God knows how many times now. We've seen it in various runs. We've seen it. I mean, most recently, I know Gail Simone's New 52 Batgirl stuff had a lot of that. And that was obviously quite a few years ago now, where it feels like, no, we've healthily moved past this stage. We don't have to keep being on this stage.
Right. Yeah. But like Pete's saying, I get why it's here because it is a Joker book.
Yeah, and
it's her defining moment with Joker.
It's the same in the next scene with Jason as well, where he flashes back to the crowbar. Like, it makes sense.
But secretly, you loved watching him get beat with the crowbar beat. Just admit it.
Do you know what concerns me about this, though? Is that obviously Batman flashes back to his parents being killed, and then Babs and Jason flash back to these two moments. It's almost like it's setting up that the killer of his parents might be a Joker. And I don't like that.
If that's the case, I am going to be very upset.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
Yeah,
it's one of the big things in the Burton movies I do not like. Is that one? Is that Joe Chill is the Joker? One of. Yeah.
One of it already implies there are more problems, Pete. You didn't need to pull that off. If he'd said it was the only problem,
I mean, Batman also just dropping dudes off of roofs. Not a good look.
Yes, but the way he said it implied that it was a few problems. It's one of the few, not one of.
I mean, it is. It's a handful of problems, really.
Anyway,
numerous.
Yeah. Again, Jason is gonna Jason, I guess.
Yeah. So honestly, most of my problems come from all this flashback stuff in the first third of the book. I think once it gets on to we've got this crime scene at Ace Chemicals, which is where the third Joker's is struck, and Jokerized like these three people who they can't identify, much like the Joker himself. Once we get to this and we get Batgirl showing up to help, and then of course Jason ends up being in the ambulance with the one who's alive still. I think from here it kind of picks up for me.
Yeah, the scene with the ambulance really reminded me of Halloween.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, Halloween 4.
Right.
The Return of Michael Myers. Yes.
Yeah. So, and I was like, wait a minute, is one of them like legit a lot? And then I was like, oh no, it's Red Hood's just as a paramedic. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm digging the Batgirl suit, by the way, on this. The classic
gray with the yellow.
Gray and yellow.
I wasn't a fan of her first panel in it.
Sure.
I don't like the way she's crouched on the bar. It
is a weird proportional thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's proportion. It's just the way she's balanced. It doesn't feel like a natural way to stand there for what
she
seems
should
to be
quite
some time.
She looks like she's doing squats at the gym, and doing squats on a pole like that would be impossible.
It looks like she's taking a dump. Let's be honest. Just call it as.
Well,
it's the sort of thing where if this was a pose where she was if it was just that bottom of that page where she jumps off down, and floats over the acid vat, If it was just that, I'd go, "Oh, she's just got up there, and it's lingering there for a moment." But it's the way it's there. She's watching from that position.
Yeah, basically, you're expecting one leg to be stretched out for balance, or a hand on the pole as well for balance, or something. Something else.
Yeah, it looks like she's got an invisible chair that she's sitting on.
However, if this was Dick Grayson doing this, I'd be like, "Oh, he's an acrobat. Of course he can do that."
If you think this is, just wait till we start talking about Action Comics, because I've got some takes. I've got some hot takes.
Yeah, well, it's because you have eyes. And you recognize things.
You thought a scene in this reminded you of Halloween? I've got a really weird movie reference for some of the art in Action Comics.
I don't know if I want to hear this.
Okay. So no, I like all this. Do you know what little touch I like? I like Batman asking Babs if Gordon knows who she is, because of a look that he gave her at one point. I like kind of that line of questioning. But yeah, so
it wasn't so much the look. There was an actual line of dialogue that Gordon said that was like, "Oh, he definitely knows." So it felt weird that they didn't mention that and just went with the look.
Yeah. So. Yeah, Jason wakes up. Fun little action sequence of Batman going into the ambulance. Babs is trying to disable the ambulance so it's not running into people. Art's very good. We also have one of the Jokers in a semi who kills a raccoon.
No, he doesn't. The raccoon gets across the road because he swerves. Joker swerves for small animals.
Doesn't he walk into it in the next scene saying he's got dinner? He's holding roadkill up? Isn't that the very next scene?
Hold on, no, is that the? No.
I'm looking at the next scene. I'm just going ahead. Have I forgotten something?
I could have sworn there's a thing where he holds up some. Hold on a second.
No, because you see the S curve that looks like the swerve of the. He swerved out of the way.
No, I do agree he swerves, and he's trailing this, the green stuff behind him, which they talked about how they stole some chemicals from Ace Chemicals.
Mace.
Yeah. I could have sworn there was a scene where he holds up like a carcass and says, "I've got dinner" or something like that.
No, so you imagine that?
Yeah, I don't know what you're saying.
Maybe I did.
Hat,
yeah, the one that.
Cane.
Maybe I did. Where? Look, I'll admit, I was very sleep deprived when I read this earlier, okay? I clearly inserted an extra panel in somewhere.
You just decided
that made me hate Joker even more, because you leave that raccoon alone.
I did enjoy this scene, though, and if you talk about the ambulance reminding me of Halloween 4, this also reminded me of something. It reminded me of the start of Resident Evil 2. There's a truck stuff at the start of that. Very reminiscent. There's a lot of things that reminded me of things in this book, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. So we got a Trucker Joker who walks into Killing Joke Joker. Yeah. So the way I was reading this is that these two are the ones who attack Babs and Jason, and then the leader one they go to speak to, who's sort of behind the desk, is kind of the more classic Joker. Is that?
He's the original.
He looks like that. With the hairline. The Denny O'Neil and help me out on art. I'm drawing a blank. Who did he always?
Neil Adams.
The old grumpy guy. He did Man versus Muhammad Ali. God damn it! I'm losing nerd cred. Yeah, Neil Adams. There you go.
You're making me second guess it because I was like, is it not him?
No, I missed what you had said, and then it landed. Anyways, it looks like the Joker from Five Way Revenge. Right?
Sure. Yes.
Like that one. That was a long way to go for that. But
yeah.
Him sitting there that sinister. So this is the criminal Joker, right? That's who they.
Yes.
And then the comedian, and then the clown is the one that beat up.
The clown is the one who drove here in the truck.
Right. Okay.
And the comedian is Killing Joke.
Keep them straight. Right. They all are very different in that way. Whereas the comedian one has the wide brim hat, right? Very Killing Joke-esque. Almost like they're figments of the imagination, because they're almost spot on, right? Like,
yeah.
Well,
this page here where they all come in and you've got the criminal saying, we need to make a better Joker.
Yeah.
That's the end of the issue for me. That's the point where that should be the end of an issue.
Well, if it was a 6-issue book instead of 3 supersized issues, then fair enough. But
I just think in terms of pacing, even so, that should be the final beat.
No, I get what you're saying. If anything, I thought it might have been ending there, and then I turned the page and went, "Oh no, it's not ended." That's quite a lot after it. So essentially, what they've done here is they've taken a 6-issue mini and turned it into 3 supersized issues.
And I think in some ways they haven't restructured it for the format, which is a bit of a pacing problem because it feels like two halves and not in a good way.
I guess that's fair. I'm not super mad about that though. I thought this was a pretty enjoyable read. Like I said, I had a problem with the flashback stuff early on, but once it got going after that, I was kind of into the. And I'm not really sure where they're going with the ending of this, because part of me is like, are they going to like somehow twist this into, nah, there's really only one Joker, although that doesn't really add up with the whole Mobius chair saying which one, but, you know.
No, but I do feel, and I'm going to catch shit for this though, I like the idea that Joker is something that happens to you in Gotham, right? That Gotham turns out Jokers.
Okay.
And that it's much easier to become a Joker than a member of the Bat family, right? And so the fact that Gotham breeds them, like, Joker could have only happened in Gotham.
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
what if the story ends with all... Because I mean, not to mention, we'll talk about it properly in a second, but one of them does seemingly die in this issue. What if we get to the end of the story and all 3 of them die, and at the last the page is a tease of the newest Joker kind of emerging from Gotham?
And to me, that fits in with the Joker and why he's so different. And, you know, and I was talking to some people on Twitter after I read this, and they were talking about, you know, Grant Morrison's take on the Joker, and that is he changes his personality every couple years, you know, and that's what explains the changes over the course of years for a character like that. And that's fine in the meta context, but for the sake of a story like this that might be a step outside of normal DC continuity, I like the idea that Joker's almost a title. And it does kind of play in with what Snyder was kind of doing with the Joker's always been in Gotham, and he's like this long secret evil, although that ended up, spoiler for Scott Snyder.
I hate that because I don't like the idea that there was a Joker before Batman. I like the idea that Joker only becomes Joker because Batman exists.
Right, but that's also John's playing with that idea, right? Like, you know, Joker comes from Gotham, and Gotham they go on the same, just like Batman.
I don't hate this idea. It's kind of give and take though, because it does lose other things I like about the Joker. Like the idea of Joker's obsession with Batman, I think is diluted if multiple people who have taken the moniker have this same obsession. It kind of waters that down for me. So
it definitely does. But at the same time, that could be this criminal Joker that has the obsession, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't want to judge the rest of it based off of the first issue, but if the other 2 issues are kind of like this, where it leaves a lot up. I mean, I have a little bit more trust in John's, though, to tell a solid story. I mean,
we have no idea how ambiguous this is going to be by the time we finish issue 3. We have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, this could be metaverse, multiverse shenanigans at play, for all we know. Like the refolding of the realities because of Crisis or whatever led to 3 Jokers inhabiting Gotham at the same time.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that these events with these 2 extra Jokers both happened after Crisis.
Yeah, they're post-Crisis.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe they'll do something with that.
Who knows? With John's, anything's at play, right? Because all the stuff that he's done for DC over his tenure, it could be any of these things. But you guys brought up how Fabric starts a little bit, Gary Frank, and now I'm just realizing this kind of feels like a Batman Earth 1.
I thought that as I was reading it.
The outfit feels very Earth 1.
Especially having the oval, I don't think helps with that.
Yeah, and that it's reminiscent of Frank. It's set in this Gotham that's a little bit different than what we're used to, right? Was this a Black Label designate?
It is, yes.
Okay, well then that makes sense.
I think originally this was going to be part of John's own label, whatever that was going to be called.
Yeah.
We did have a name for it at some point, but I think that it's just kind of been abandoned.
I may be a horrible person for thinking this, but I kind of love Joker Shark.
Yeah. Also, as a biology nerd, you can't keep great white sharks in captivity. So, bullshit, Johns. I don't care how great Gotham is.
He's right.
They can't. They swim too much. Right?
They just die because they can't handle it.
No, they tried at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which is like the best aquarium in the world. They could not keep the great white alive.
I think the best they managed was like 2 years or something.
Not even that. It was a couple months.
Was it that? I knew it wasn't long because it was just like, I mean, even in terms of a great white's lifespan, 2 years is still pretty short.
Yeah.
But they can't handle the captivity and they just give up.
However,
essentially,
I understand the irony of that being my nitpick in a comic where it's also Jokerized.
Yeah,
I get it.
I don't really care. I just like the image of it. I couldn't give a shit.
Yagi's a character from continuity, right?
Yeah, I mean they talk about how it's been a long time since they've used them, because presumably it's the original Joker who used them a long time ago. I can't say I'm familiar with this character because I mean.
No, but sometimes Johns pulls these tricks where he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a character from way back when," and turns out it's really not. Yeah, there he is, Gagsworth A. Gagsworthy. That's a terrible name.
That's a name from the 40s if ever there was one.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna look him up real quick. I should have done this before, but I forgot about him until now. Very reminiscent of Toad from the X-Men comics, right?
I can see that.
So
sniveling little sidekick.
Yep.
Yeah, of course, the gang shows up and there's a lot of shooting, which ends up with a wonderful page of the shark coming out of the tank and eating the little dude. So I loved that page. I thought that was a really fun page. I think Joe, what I liked about some of this fish stuff is that it felt like Batman the Animated Series sort of Joker episode kind of style of stuff, and I was really into the tone and the vibe of it. And maybe this is something we can play with, is that this goes with this Joker, this stuff, and then the next Joker will have something that feels a bit more unique to that Joker.
So for every nitpick I had for the Joker shark, the Joker piranhas is the opposite. I was like, yes, I did see this. If any fish deserves to be Jokerized, it's a piranha. So
actually, a bit of art here that I really liked in terms of the sequencing. There's a moment when Joker shows up and he's got the fishbowl and he's trying to do whatever. The page it's like a 9-panel grid, but the bottom 3 are just one wide panel. So I guess it's a 7-panel grid, but you know what I mean. There's a 3-page sequence in the middle of that where Batman punches the Joker back, and then the Joker falls back, and Batgirl sort of grabs him, sort of as he's falling back, and puts him through a window. I just want to say how good the motion of those 3 panels are, where I completely understand how Joker's falling into the right place for her to sort of just put her arm around.
It's actually a really interesting paneling sequence because he gets punched, in that direction, and then Batgirl, when she throws him to the right into the next panel, essentially. And then when she kicks him out the window, whatever it is, he actually crashes out of the panel as the window breaks. So the window was the panel, essentially.
Yeah, fabric's really good.
Oh, he's fantastic. I felt this really stuck out to me because I thought just the actual motion between the 2 moves was so specific that if the art didn't sell me on it, I'd be like, how did that work? But I was never confused. It made sense to me. No. The motion completely made sense between the double team, as it were. So the cops have got another Joker surrounded elsewhere. Batman goes off. Jason and Babs are left to babysit the other Joker. There's this first one. And Jason, unsurprisingly, is like...
Can't handle it.
I know, let's just kill him.
Yeah.
And it becomes this moral conflict between Jason and Babs.
Oh. And the Joker goads him.
Oh, of course,
like he's setting him up. It's not like Jason started up from the start, like I'm not going to.
And this is where, I didn't like the flashback stuff earlier, but Joker's saying, hey, I remember what you said to me when you were begging for your life. I remember you saying, I'll do anything. I'll be your Robin. And look at you now. You're so violent and you're willing to kill people. You are my Robin. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, you took my moniker. Like
the Red Hood,
Red Hood thing and stuff. Yeah, and then you see Jason crying. Right? Like, I also was getting flashes of Return of the Joker from that sequence, from Batman Beyond. But yeah, and then we get Fabric doing the representation of that famous bloodied Jason from Death in the Family.
Not to mention the moment sort of standing still as we get multiple panels of the Joker falling as he's been shot in the head.
There's a weird line that maybe questions some continuity here. Joker says, "Yeah, I wanted to leave you alive. I didn't want, if I killed you, there's no opportunity to hurt you or whatever." I'm like, is this trying to tell me this version of Jason didn't die?
I think that was just more of the. To me, I read that as a meta thing of the call to kill Jason, right? Is technically Joker didn't kill Jason; the fans killed Jason.
I mean, technically, it was the explosion after Joker beat the crowbar.
Right.
Yes.
They do say that he did die here and that he came back. So I mean, I don't think it's actually suggesting that he didn't die. He said that he didn't want to kill him, but he didn't. Okay. He went too far or whatever. He got into the moment. He got excited. I do like the moment afterwards though, because Batgirl tried to stop him, of course, and Jason's like, "Hey, when was the last time you missed?" And we see the Batarang just kind of like in the wall, and she's
just as an art critique, when she was actually throwing it, it didn't feel like she missed because you see it hit his hand, blood comes off it. It felt like it had knocked it off target to me.
Right.
And then, I mean, like, cause you can see the connection, the blood. It felt like she hit, and then it's like you missed. I was like, wait, what?
I think it's missing in the same way that if you graze a shoulder instead of hitting someone in the face, that's a miss.
Yeah, she could have hit him square in the hand.
Yeah.
And it would have, but deep down she didn't want to.
Yeah, I don't really like this, to be honest.
I mean,
I just don't like that choice. That doesn't feel like Babs at all to me.
Well, that's the point though. It's not. It's not a choice. It's just like that's why when he points it out and she sort of looks down and then she's crying and says "Screw you, Jason," and storms off.
When I said choice, I didn't mean Babs' choice. I meant John's choice as a writer, as a storytelling choice. Because even subconsciously, that doesn't feel like the right decision for me.
I don't know. High pressure situation and whatnot. I don't know. I mean, I want Babs to be the best of us. But...
For me, after all the stuff we've had with Babs in the past, I'm like stuff dealing with her brother, for example, where she didn't kill him, she kept him alive through everything. Like, and then now this, but the idea that was so personal, it pushed her to the limits more than anything, even more than the Joker did, and still, like, no, she didn't, She was on Batman's side of the argument here, so to speak. This here, even subconsciously, that she wasn't anymore, I just don't really like that.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, it still works for me, just with her because of that, because of the, like, screw you, Jason.
Oh.
Okay. Everything good?
Yeah, just start your sentence again, Matt.
Yeah. No, it's like she didn't realize that she meant to miss, Yeah, like, she was trying, but it's her subconscious, and now she has to deal with that. And if we get it and it gets revealed, she was like, "No, yeah, I wanted you to kill the Joker," then sure.
Yeah, because I don't think the point of this is that she did want him to kill the Joker per se. It's more, of course, even Batman has admitted deep down, yeah, of course he's thought about it. He thinks about it and thinks of all the good it would do if he did just kill him. This is kind of what if I just don't stop him in time kind of thing, but without even the thought process part, just the this kind of instinctual thing.
Also, don't forget Jason's a bit of a villain himself, so him putting that into Babs's head. How many times do you miss?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, like, is this even genuine, or is he just putting the doubt in her head, and now she's upset because she's believing that maybe she did that on purpose?
Because he has no qualms about killing people. We know that.
Yeah, I always say this. Like, I don't necessarily even mind a story where Batman accidentally or is put in a position. We can't do it too often, obviously, but if it happens where someone ends up dying because of Batman, I'm okay as long as the reaction from Batman makes sense and it's a story that we deal with and go through. And Bab's reaction to this, even being accused of this, it clearly hits her. And even if it is intentional and she admits that later, and then there's guilt over thinking that and thinking that she's failed herself or something, like as long as it treats it with the right tact and the right character development from it, then I can get on board with it. Like I can see the value in it. Nothing about this so far is raising like huge red flags for me. So
no, like I said, it's a good first issue, and if some of my issues keep happening, right? If stuff doesn't get resolved in the next two, then sure. But again, I'm gonna wait for that to happen because I do trust in John's.
It'll be the third one before anything's resolved, though. Of course, I don't suspect there's going to be.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But like again, if Babs comes up and she has a discussion with Bruce and she's like, "No, Jason's right. I did want him to kill the Joker," then I'm gonna be like, "All right, Johns, that's weak sauce. Come on, man." Now I said it. Now it's gonna happen. Now I'm upset with myself.
Well, it depends on how she says it. It depends, like, what if deep down I did want it? What if she's questioning it, or
yeah, if it's a question, yeah.
There's lots of ways that you tackle this. I feel like this is the type of story because everyone's sort of like sitting with their arms fully going, all right, John's impressed me because this idea, this concept from the start is something that a lot of us have been against or whatever. I think if you're not a fan of the Joker or Joker stories, this is definitely not for you. If you don't like Geoff Johns' writing, this is definitely not for you. Like, that's just out the way, right? Just get that out of the way. That's just a fact as far as this comic goes.
So you say that, and I'm not a big Joker person, but I mostly enjoyed this still.
I think you like to pretend you're not a big Joker guy.
I'm not a big Joker guy. Like,
yeah.
I'll say that. Like, we all know this. I find him very overrated, and in Batman's Rogues Gallery, there's better for my money. Like, I feel Two-Face is a better villain than Joker. Joker just gets all the playoff money. You know what I mean? So,
sure.
I don't know.
I just think, for me, I like Joker stories. I've not all of them, obviously. There are good and bad ones, but I'm very open to Joker stories. I've enjoyed a lot of them. I've liked pretty much everything from John's before, so I think it's safe to say I'm definitely a John's fan. I think that's not exactly news. But I just didn't enjoy reading this issue, despite those things.
My counterpoint to that, I mean, obviously we've went through it and talked about the various choices that have been made, and obviously how good the art is, but is, I guess, just the outside of the flashback stuff at the start, I did enjoy reading it, and I was into the story. I was into the intrigue of what's going on with these three, and the characters kind of realize it. I guess the only question I was having as I was reading it was, well, presumably this is set after Batman asked the question in the chair. How in continuity it is now is another question, but clearly that set this up. So, as Babs is starting to question, what if there's more than one? I was expecting Batman to turn around and say, well, here's the thing. I kind of asked the Morbius chair, and it might have implied that there was three of them. So,
right. Well, and also, Fabik was his last regular gig, right? Was that Justice League?
Yeah, Darkseid War.
I think it might have been.
Darkseid War.
Yeah. That was so wrong.
I mean, it follows the art and artist and writer tree, right? So, who knows?
All right, Jason with his mask off, just with the little, the little black eye mask. He's giving me some serious Winter Soldier vibes. The way he's drawn at the end of this.
Which, it's always hilarious to me that Bucky came back and Jason came back that way around the same time.
Yeah, kind of.
And they were independent of each other. It's not like Winnick and Brubaker knew what the other was doing. It was just like that point in the mid 2000s. We're gonna bring back the two sidekicks that have always been dead. And although. That said, Jason did show up earlier in Hush, but it wasn't. That spoiler alert. It's not really.
I mean, yeah, spoilers for Hush at this point.
I'm saying.
Who'd have guessed that things that characters aren't what they seem in Hush?
Yeah.
Of all stories, but that was first, and obviously it wasn't Jason. But I assume that set the seeds of. But what if? The idea. I don't know if it was Winnick's choice to run with that, or if it was editorial kind of. Going, hey, there was a good response to that. Maybe we should bring him back. I don't know which way around it came, but I'm assuming it was the reaction. Or
I remember when it happened, and I just like the idea of him becoming DC's Punisher. Just he has an antagonistic relationship with Bruce, and Bruce is going to try to stop him, Daredevil Punisher style, and whatnot. And I like that, but it's been so corrupted by a certain writer over the course. Because that's been the one writer that's been allowed. Because I do feel like when Tom Taylor used him in Unkillables, it was kind of that perfect. Of course, he's going to be the one that survives something like that because he has zero qualms.
Don't worry. I'm sure Connor, when he gets to read the new writer on Red Hood, will tell us how it is and how it progresses.
And if that's true, if that's fine, that's fine. Because I liked when Tynan wrote Jason for those few issues of Red Hood and the Outlaws that I read back in the New 52. You know.
Yeah. So given that this one kind of like dealt with obviously the crowbar Joker, for lack of a better term, clearly the next one I assume, because I assume we're saving the classic one for last, and the next one will be Babsy's maybe more direct focus with the comedian one, yeah. So
yeah, I like how Pete called it the crowbar Joker for lack of a better term, where it gave us a better term in the issue.
I can't remember which one's which.
I don't like the clown as that though, because to me he's not a clown; he's a psycho. So they could have called him the psychopath.
I just
sure.
Reading one issue is not enough to cement in my head which one is which. I couldn't remember, right? But yes, so he ran with him dead. Jason's looking down at him, and that's the end of the issue. So I do think the art's wonderful. It feels like a prestige book. I do think the page count and the quality of the art and all that does kind of justify the maybe not as much of a price tag as it has, but definitely bigger than normal.
Yeah, I don't feel like I got ripped off for the money. You know what I mean?
I feel the same way.
Packed, and it's Fabric. Oh, man, I'm so happy to see Fabric back because it's been in the button was the last regular work that we got from Fabric.
You say regular work. That was like what?
2 issues.
2 issues, yeah.
But that's what I mean. I mean, he's been working on this and other things. I think he does work as as a concept artist as well. I think that's what he told us when we saw him at that con. He does things like Remender does too. So I don't know, or if he's just been hard at work on this, but I'm here for it. I like Fabric a lot.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's kind of like a Doomsday Clock light for me, where I'm getting a lot of the sort of intrigue and storytelling that kind of had and the mystery that had, but it's not as good, obviously, and I definitely have some problems with the flashback stuff early on. And I'm definitely, I don't know if I'm going to be satisfied with how it wraps up its story, but it does feel like it's building to something, maybe something meta, maybe something about how Joker split into 3, or how these are from other Earths or so. I don't know, but we'll see where it goes. So Matt, what are you giving Batman 3 Jokers issue 1?
It might seem a little bit high, but the art is really doing. But I'm gonna give this an 8.
I think that's a perfectly fair score. I'm tempted to nudge it a little bit higher, but I'm actually just going to agree with Matt and go with a straight 8. Art's fantastic. I'm digging the mystery for now, and like I say, and my complaints were made earlier. Connor, what are you giving it?
It's a tough question. The art is great and it's definitely worth a good few points on its own. But pacing problems I didn't like, some dialogue, some choices, just concepts. 5.5.
Good lord.
The degrader strikes again, as some of our.
I'm so disappointed by this. But I wanted to love this book. I thought I was going to. I was excited to read this Tuesday. I was like, I got to get this plus spoilers. And now I'm like, I guess I'll read the next one.
All right, Mr. Miserable over here. Wonder Woman. What?
That's a shirt, Mr. Miserable.